Brad Boggs, our Senior Director of Interactive Sales with Post & Courier. I'm responsible for all of our revenue and sales initiatives tied to postandcourier.com and all of our ancillary products. We're a Google preferred partner. That means all of our sales reps have taken the Google sales keyword exams and can help in that regard and answer any questions you have. We've invited Teddy Gorman here today. He's from Memphis, Tennessee, my home state, so we're excited to have him here. Teddy has about 15 years experience in the media industry, with most of that being on the digital marketing side of things. He created and started and developed and led a corporate training program for Scripps newspaper group. So a lot of experience, travels around regionally and nationally a little bit to tell the story and help folks such as yourself answer any questions you may have about the digital marketing space.
You know, we are talking about the digital space, but more importantly than that, what we're really talking about is your customer's path to purchase. We're going to go over digital things, but I want you just the entire time to be thinking about the fact that it's really, what does consumerism look like today, right? You know, we all face so many challenges. There are a million things coming at us at once, especially as it relates to, you know, the clutter that exists in our lives and the pace at which we're going. And so the real challenge is figuring out where should I be engaged, where should I not be engaged, and what does that look like? How about this one? Anybody kind of struggle with this? Like, I'm doing stuff and I'm engaged, but I'm not exactly sure like how to understand, you know, what actually turns into a sale or a lead. And then you said it, you know, it's constantly. This is not Rompo Peel. This is not set it and forget it. This is, you've got to be engaged in the process. And the folks here understand that you're trying to run your business. And you know, the marketing is an aspect of your business, but you've got all of those other things that you have to do on a daily basis. And so that's why it makes sense to have a partner who can help you through that process. But it happens, you know, on a daily basis and super quick, so to do it in a partner manner makes the most sense. So what we're really going to talk about today is having a better understanding of the steps your customers take before and after making a purchase to help solve these challenges that we talked about. So it's a journey that has many names, right? The customer journey, the consumer path to purchase, the consumer decision journey, customer life cycle, or for those of us who've been in the game well, can we just call it a marketing funnel, right? That's comfortable anyways for many in the room. But there are some good definitions that exist, and so one of them from Forrester, the customer life cycle, is customers' relationship with a brand as they continue to discover new options, explore their needs, make purchases, and engage with the product experience and their peers. Another good one, the customer decision journey from McKinsey & Company. Consumers consider a set of brands, evaluate them, and then select one at the moment of purchase. But we have to remember this part. After the purchase, the journey continues, as the buyer forms an opinion that can trigger a repeat purchase, or let's face it, a rejection, and then can ultimately turn into advocacy and loyalty, or negative feedback for other shoppers. This look familiar to anybody? We'll take you through the awareness phase, right? Interest, desire, action. Anybody? What do we call that? Yeah, the purchase funnel. And it's AIDA. Any fans of the movie Glengarry Glen Ross?
Yes.
Alec Baldwin. Yeah, right? Alec Baldwin, AIDA, and he takes you right through it. Well, this is, to some degree, still true, but this is kind of the old way of looking at things. But as you relate to it, there are very much products and vehicles that marketers have used for years to drive results for their businesses in order to meet their end goals, whether it's profitability, top-line revenue, etc. So you look at the traditional customer journey model, you got awareness, familiarity, consideration, purchase, and post-purchase, and it's very linear, right? Who here, raise your hand if you think that this world today is linear, right? It's crazy what we go through. The old model, consumer sees the ad, maybe they ask some friends about it, then they go to Sears or they make that catalog purchase, and that's kind of where it ended. You know, maybe if somebody's over, they talk about it, you know, how they feel about it. And you see that ad for the mop that does it. But here's what today's scenario might look like. Same similar product, right? But now you're on a website and this ad pops up and you decide, you know what? I'm going to click that, and you watch a video. Maybe you go to the website at the same time, or maybe later you see a TV ad for that same product. Then you start looking for reviews. Like, is this a quality product? Is there anybody in my peer network that thinks this product makes sense? Maybe you do some comparison shopping online. Ask your friends socially whether or not they've used one. Maybe you follow the brand on Facebook without ever having made the purchase. Maybe you order it online. Anybody do this where you're on the phone in the store, but let me see if I can get it somewhere else? Maybe you sign up for a newsletter for coupons. You may have already made the purchase, and now you're going to continue with ancillary product purchases. Maybe you write a review on Yelp or whatever your favorite review site is. Maybe you just rave or complain on Facebook, or you tweet a question about using it. Not so linear anymore, is it? So we really have evolved into a proliferation of channels. This kind of look familiar to anybody in terms of all of the things you're trying to do to capture the best prospects who are most likely to turn into a customer? You know, we've got PR events and sales, offline advertising, online marketing, social, getting those referrals. And they all kind of lay over one another, It's not, we can't bucket so much anymore. It's much more about how do all of these things work together in order for us to get the maximum return for our investment. And that investment is not just financial. We're talking about all your resources, right? We're talking people, we're talking time, and then money and effort. So here's that old linear model, which those things are still relevant, right? We still have awareness, consideration, purchase, retention, and advocacy. But look at how it goes now and how each of those items, when you're in the awareness phase, maybe it's word of mouth or it's an online ad. And then once you start to actually consider it, then you end up looking at some reviews in a blog, and maybe you get an email, and you go through the funnel. But we're all over the place. It's not just this straight line anymore. All that being said, in all of that space, constantly moving, it's really kind of four buckets that we can still sort of appreciate. In order to make it easy today, we bucket it this way: awareness, appreciation, advocacy, and action. So from an awareness standpoint, your tactics in this stage have really got to be focused on educating, right? Long gone are the days of just, hey, I'm here. You can't be selling when you're trying to establish awareness, right? What should you be doing? Should we really be thinking about the end user instead of, hey, this is what I need? Instead, it should be about, what is this person going through as they're starting to become a potential customer for me? It's really got to be customer-centric rather than marketer-centric. Here's what really has to happen. You have to stop yelling and start helping. Helping people understand a problem that they have that they don't even know exists. Anybody here watch Shark Tank? Decent amount. Have you ever been sitting there and you're watching the show, and all of a sudden somebody comes out, they've got this product for this problem that you never thought about that you had, but oh my gosh, that makes total sense. Right? No? Yes? No? Maybe? How about a verbal, just so we get some energy going in the room? Yeah. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Happens to me all the time. It's like, how did I not even recognize the fact that this existed in my life? As a marketer, that's what we really need to be doing now when we're establishing awareness is, hey, do you recognize the fact that you've got this problem? So some great opportunities in terms of building that awareness. Amy Stein, one of my cohorts, she absolutely says if there's one thing, paid and sponsored social is an area that she just thinks drive results. So that's a great way to establish a brand. Digital display and extended reach, newspaper, television, radio ads, YouTube video pre-rolls, really looking at where someone is landing and what keywords are taking you to those landing pages, and then native advertising and sponsored content. And we'll get into some of this stuff. Let's just stop real quick. Anybody got questions? I love it. Okay.
I do either. Do you have numbers, what numbers do you trust in terms of the paid sponsored and working better, more successfully? Because we believe that too. How do you have a colleague that believes in it, but how do you document it? Research.
So all of the analytics that they go through,
Okay.
and different companies have different analytics, but at the end of the day, it's got to be a combination of two things. It's got to be a combination of looking at your analytics and understanding the data that's there, and then the second is the customer understanding what it's doing for their business, right? And you have to make that connection, and that's why she's so fond of it, because that's what's happening for her, is they're looking at the numbers, taking the numbers to the business, and yes, this mirrors up. We're seeing a lift here because this is the promotion that we've done, and so really that's the way she feels confident about that. So talking a little bit about contextual advertising, and that's really, or contextual marketing rather, that's focusing on the messaging and placement around content that's relevant to the interests of your potential customers where they're most likely to be engaged. In the awareness stage, you should be focused on developing your own content that aligns with buyers and help them, right? This is not an opportunity to sell yet. We're not selling, we're helping. In marketing, we talked about the 4 Ps, right? Everybody familiar with the 4 Ps, product, price, placement, and promotion? We should really also be thinking about the 3 Cs, which is content delivered in the right context drives commerce. That makes sense to everybody? Let that soak in for a second. Content delivered in the right context drives commerce. Here's a great example. Rather than a real estate agent, we've got some folks in the real estate space here. Rather than just saying, "Hey, I'm available for your every need," instead, why not help a potential buyer, someone who's just starting the process of getting into the market? Buy some content, top 5 things to get your home ready for a listing. How to know what your home is worth. When to rent, when to buy. What does that do for you by helping somebody rather than just, selling to them?
Increases your credibility.
Increases your credibility, right? Is that a reason to do business with somebody? Oftentimes we talk about there are 4 reasons that someone does business with you. Commonality, propriety, intent, and competence. Okay? Commonality is, hey, you got a fish on your wall. You fish and you have that. You ever bought from somebody because they also fish or they also are into whatever you're into?
Yeah.
I haven't personally. Propriety is, am I acting in a manner appropriate for the communication we're having? Intent. How important is intent? In terms of, if you don't believe that someone has your best interests in mind, how likely are you to do business with them?
0.
Right? And then competence. Don't you want to deal with someone who, knows what they're talking about? So as a real estate agent, if you can demonstrate competence and intent, look, are you selling to anybody right there? Absolutely not. You're helping. You're establishing the fact that you're not only competent, but you have good intent. Much more likely to do business with you. Another example would be for education, also for banking. There's also digital display and extended reach, and extended reach is great because now you're able to specifically target on both desktop and mobile to customers across networks from a myriad of online publishers, and set that based on a variety of filters with one single buy, whether it's geographic, time of day, interests, or category of content. I love this. Can I just stop and I want to just live in this space for a minute? Okay, so native advertising, if you're not, raise your hand if you are familiar with native advertising. Okay. I'm glad to see that the folks who work here are in that space. That's good to know. All right. Yes, sir. Okay. All right. So native advertising is basically taking content and inserting it in a place where it has the look and feel and matches the look and feel of the space that already exists. So have you ever been on, say, the PNC's website and you notice something that it's a story when it says sponsored content? Yeah, so basically, what they're doing is establishing an opportunity for a business or an individual to establish some credibility by having content that is helpful to the end user in terms of a decision, going through a process, right? Should I buy or rent a house? Should I lease a car or should I purchase that car? You know, what are 5 ways to make a teenager a safe driver, right? If you're a car dealer, rather than saying, hey, buy this car for me, if you actually are giving someone good information that they can utilize in their everyday life, and then tying it back to your brand, isn't that so much stronger than just running a display ad? Now, you still need the display ad because we've got the awareness, right? And what they do here, and kudos to Brad and the entire staff, what they do here in terms of marrying it all together. As a matter of fact, would you mind sharing just a little bit about what you guys do in this space?
Yeah, I think you set it up perfectly. You know, we allow our advertisers to be the content category expert on the topic of their choice. So we truly treat it like an editorial story where we'll pick up the phone and interview the client, come to a mutual agreement on a topic, 5 reasons you may want to refinance your mortgage, or 5 reasons to talk to your kid about driver safety, that sort of thing. And then we'll get an actual quote from the client. We'll put the message right there within our news feed, deliver it to our social media audience, one of the only ways to reach the social audience. We'll boost the message to the audience of your choice. So if you're trying to target homeowners or family or parents, then we can extend the reach in that regard. And then we'll measure the metrics. How much time was spent on the site? How many people shared the link? How many people liked the link? How many people retweeted or shared the...
As marketers, is that important to you, all that stuff? Are they spending time on your site? Are they retweeting it? All of those things that you need to know, and done in a way where it all works together, right? And talk a little bit about the long-term SEO. I mean,
That's right, and then we can analyze your Google Analytics to determine what keywords you'd like to target within the story so that we get some long-term effect when people are organically searching for those types of keywords or quotes, then your story can come up organically with the branded reputation of PNC behind it.
right, because that information is going to live in a space of the most trusted resource in this market in terms of news and information. Now, don't get this confused. Native advertising is not advertorial, right? That's evolved. Anybody, you familiar with advertorial? Anybody run advertorial before? What do you think the difference is between the two?
Well, an advertorial really looks like advertising.
Right.
Versus this native advertising is more organic and it really makes a viewer or reader feel that they're more engaged with that particular advertiser, but
Right.
they don't feel like it's an advertiser.
It's really, we've gone from selling in content to helping in content and leveraging your brand as the expert in that space. And so it's really, it's taking the next step because advertorials are great and they work, but then when you move into the space of actually helping someone when they're in the mode in the early part of that purchase funnel, it really makes a difference. And here at the PNC, they really do it right. Video. Raise your hand if you have not watched a video online in the last, let's call it 3 days. That's what I thought, right? No videos at all? Okay. There's got to be one, right? No. That's the exception that makes the rule true. Okay, so if we're all watching video, why are we not engaged in that space as it relates to trying to reach our target market? We really need to establish a social, display, email, and website video strategy. And the folks at the PNC can help you with that. Here's just some numbers for you. Visitors who view video on sites stay an average of 2 minutes longer than those who don't. Email click-through rates are increased by 200 to 300% when it involves video. That's pretty impressive, right? Let that marinate for a second. Anybody engaged in any email marketing here? Ever included video in your email marketing? Did you see lift?
Tremendous.
Tremendous.
Not only that, but also animated GIFs. Like we were just talking about that, we see an increase in click-through rates. So.
We all know, so much of this is about, we know our own consumerism, right? We know what we do. Why aren't we trying to reach people in the space in a similar manner?
I have a question about that. As far as like budget wise, I think that's a big issue for a lot of clients. And how do you separate a budget for advertising and content marketing? Because sometimes it's hard to explain that to your clients that it's important to invest in content marketing. You know, like they go kind of hand in hand in your advertising budget, but you can't, it's hard to.
So does the client have a marketing and advertising budget or just an advertising?
Kind of just an advertising, so it's allocating a marketing, like a content marketing. Like investing in a video is great, but it's expensive sometimes.
Expensive is relative, right?
You know, so like how do you incorporate that into a budget when you're trying to, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but.
Well, and you know, as marketing consultants and as advertising consultants, it's really the responsibility of the individual to understand the needs and the resources that are available to each of our advertisers or each of our marketers and develop a plan that makes sense for the most ROI, right? And so I would say that the people in this room who work for the PNC, like understanding the conditions of that advertiser or that marketer makes the most sense to figure out which you should do. There may be businesses that are in a like space where they have real testimonial or real hard numbers in terms of, well, for whatever reason, we see here that much more money should be spent in the video space or much more money should be spent in the other. And so I really trust on the folks in this room to kind of help you work through that process because, you know, there is not a, you know, X% should be allocated this way and that way, you know? So it's case dependent. You want to...
Right, I think you're exactly right. As consultative sellers, we need to identify what the immediate needs are, address those concerns, and you know, once we get an established campaign going, maybe down the road, look at the video solution to only enhance things as we move forward.
You know, more stats that just drive the point home. Video increases your chance of being found on Google search by 53%. That's, I take that. Social engagement is 5 times higher. All right, so then we move into the next stage, and for our purposes, we're calling it appreciation. You know, in the old days it was consideration, and what that is the consumer has made some degree of commitment to making a purchase, and at this point they're typically evaluating. All right, so I'm considering being in the market. Who are the players in that space that I would trust and are confident to do business with? During the appreciation stage, now is the time to actually put out your unique value proposition. What's the reason to do business with you? If I could say anything today, if you haven't done that yet, if you haven't figured out why someone should be doing business with you and how does it make you different, raise your hand if you feel like you deliver the great service in your space. Like service is one of the things you push on. Oh man, I would hope there'd be a lot more hands, but that's, you know. Yeah. Do you think your competition's saying the same thing? Anybody say, you know what, we got a great product, but our service. Right? So then it's really connecting, like, what is it? What specifically are we doing differently than the other folks in order to separate ourselves from everyone else who's saying they're great at service? So you have to position that, but then understand that even though we're in the appreciation phase, you've got to keep up with the brand awareness and reinforcement and the frequency, right? If you are a current advertiser of this institution, I hope you have heard the word frequency more times than you can stand, right? Because in advertising and marketing, it's critical. So we've got to be there, not just in order to establish the brand, but now as they're moving down the funnel, continue to stay in front of them. So during the appreciation phase, again, the sponsored social media, email campaigns, display or search retargeting, we'll talk about some of these, you know, conducting contests and promotions, niche publications and sites. So retargeting. So anybody ever been online? Maybe you're watching TV and you got your phone in your lap or you got your iPad in your lap, and an ad comes on and you decide, oh, let me check that out. Or maybe you're on social media and somebody's talking about something, or you get a sponsored ad and you click through, and then you go to the site. You know, it happens to me all the time. I get email ads for stuff of somebody that maybe I just went to their site or I did business with. Lids.com gets me every time. I have a hat collection that is like, I don't know what happened. It's like my wife wears shoes. It's gotten out of control. We have to purge every so often. But so I go to lids.com. Maybe they're saying, hey, we got 25% off all MLB gear. And so I'm like, well, you know, I haven't bought a Rays, Tampa Bay Round from Tampa originally, so I haven't bought any Rays gear in a while last week. So, you know, maybe I'll see if they got any new hats. And so I go and I search to see what they have. And, well, they really get sticky because then I'm like, well, I'm also a Bucks fan, I'm a Grizzlies fan, I'm a Lightning fan. And so now I've spent some time on the site. Maybe I've put 4 or 5 or 11 things in the cart. And then what happens? Oh my goodness, where did my morning go? I just spent 90 minutes looking at hats, and I missed the gym, and now I got to go to work. So I don't even make the purchase. But then later that day or that night,